Well, hello there again, friends. This is today's Big Pauly video blog coming to you this first day of spring already, March 20th, 2012. I am Paul Blom here in Pinellas Park, Florida, and here's what I'm going to talk about today. First off, we go to an item that was going on Friday while I was doing my last blog, George Clooney being arrested. Now, my question is it all a publicity stunt? A distraction, perhaps, from the ongoing possible conflict with Iran that's now been going on 4 years, going back to the last year of the Bush-Cheney regime, Big Heil. Why the interest in Africa all of a sudden? Is this an admission that perhaps Obama has a little jelly in the belly when it comes to an Iranian conflict? And as far as Angelina Jolie and George Clooney and all the Hollywood set, they're so interested in problems in other parts of the world, but why don't they care about problems here in the good old US of A? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Last week, Dan Cilio is probably more apt right now, called a trio of African-American Buccaneer players monkeys. And he was summarily fired from 620, the sports animal, WDAE, the head sports station here in Tampa, although we have two other sports stations, one ESPN Ties, which I believe is 1010. There's also another station that does sports, which I believe is 860 these days, or 820 or 860. But there are three sports stations here in Tampa, St. Pete, which is probably at least one, maybe two too many, because we only have three professional sports teams: the Lightning, the Devil Rays, and the Buccaneers, buddy. But I'm thinking Cilio I've listened to him before. I listened to him religiously when the Rays were in the playoffs last year in that series with Texas. And I think he's going to find a gig somewhere else, maybe a smaller market. Hell, maybe even Gainesville or Tallahassee. The irony of that, him being a former Miami Hurricane. And then Friday there was Jason Russell's sad story out of San Diego. Oh man, oh man, oh man. The guy behind the Coney, rhyming with phony, movement had a meltdown in San Diego Friday, proving to the world that he is not the master of his domain, or at least was caught not mastering his domain, shall we say. It was an all-time meltdown. It was a meltdown that made Margot Kidder's in 1996 look good. And just as an aside, if he wanted to spank the monkey so bad, you would think he would have done that over in Africa. Rick Santorum has made some, I don't want to say he has made some statements he made back around 2007, 2008 had been unearthed by the Drudge Report and the very good conservative blogger, webmaster. Well, he's not really a blogger. Blogger was someone that came after webmaster. Matt Drudge, he was the webmaster that way back in 1998 unearthed the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, and we had a nice little soap opera for a year. To me, that was kind of the beginning of the unraveling of this country. That, the 2000 elections, and 9/11, because if you looked at the wall, there was no doubt that Bill Clinton was guilty of the crimes he had committed, but the United States senators who took an oath to do so decided to ignore the law and make the impeachment proceeding basically a referendum on his presidency. Back to Rick Santorum. He said some very supportive things about Romney back in 2007, 2008, right around thereabouts. And it gives credence to my theory that this GOP soap opera is just a master plan to ensure that Ron Paul is not the nominee. That's why you have four candidates still in the race, including Ron Paul, as we are in the latter parts now of March, heading into April. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Look for Santorum to cut a deal with Romney where he gives him the delegates, and Romney and Santorum are the Republican ticket in 2012, I beg your pardon. You heard it here first, because if Ron Paul were to go heads up against a Romney or a Santorum or a Gingrich, he would win. And note that they're not having as many debates as they had been having in the first parts of the primary, which of course is natural, but as time goes on, if Gingrich or Romney or by miracle Santorum, by miracle Romney would drop out, Santorum would drop out, then this only would give Ron Paul power and more people would flock to him. Ron Paul has run a very smart primary campaign, knowing perhaps that there could be some fraud going on. And it's much easier to rig elections when you have 4 people running than it is when to rig 2 or 3. My theory, anyway. And he has been focusing on the states that have caucuses, like Nevada and Iowa. And even there, they're defrauding them. And I think history will prove that in 10 to 20 years' time, you're going to look back and you're going to see that this was one of the greatest heists of all time to keep Ron Paul from winning the nomination. They're trying to make him look like a weak candidate when, in fact, if you see the number of people who attend his rallies, his speeches, as opposed to all 3 of the others put together, the numbers are just way exceed if you put the remaining 3 together. Peyton Manning looking like he's going to go to the Denver Broncos. And Sam Simon of The Simpsons got off a very nice tweet on Twitter yesterday being Monday the 19th of March as I record this, where he said, TiVo can't claim he's a virgin anymore, he just got screwed by the Broncos. I think it only proves that John Elway never liked this kid all along, for whatever reason or professional jealousy he may or may not have, and he wanted Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, of course, was supposed to return in the 2012 season from neck surgery that sidelined him from the Colts all throughout 2011. What if something were to happen to Peyton Manning where he takes a hit right away and that's the end of his career and it would wind up that John Elway would be screwed? Now I gotta get a bone to pick right now. This TSA thing. I don't understand why this organization, this extra-constitutional organization, is allowed to run havoc on anybody who wants to fly. The most recent case in point. Did you see the news of this 3-year-old kid in the body cast that had to be patted down going to the airport? One of these. I forget what. I should look it up right here and now. Very transparent here on the show. I'm going to look up where what airport this took place. The 3-year-old kid that was patted down at an airport, and of course the father was hopping mad about it. This Boston Herald, whether this actually happened in Boston. Hello, my friends in Boston, all the massholes. Not you, Kathy. The video viewed more than 200,000 times since it was posted up to YouTube on Sunday. It was apparently supposed to show that a Transportation Security Administration was harassing the traveling public, in this case a young boy on his way to Disney World. Happened at O'Hare Airport, which would be Chicago. Who is the idiot, the absolute quisling, that thought this 3-year-old young man was Al Qaeda? TSA is out of control. And why do you people allow it? Notice how they originally said if you don't want to fly, notice I'm getting tongue-tied again. If you don't want to fly, fine. And now notice how they're putting TSA in at the Greyhound bus stations and Amtrak, and pretty soon, even if you drive the highways, they're going to set up checkpoints and they are going searching. Seriously, why do people allow this crap to go on? If the American people just came together like they did at the onset when they first started this in 2010, the Thanksgiving holiday, and refused to be divided, the American people could not be conquered. Think about that, folks. These TSA people, you notice how many TSA workers are getting caught with sexual misconduct, how they're getting caught off-duty molesting young people and this, that, and the other thing, just general sexual misconduct. And these are the people that are going to broke us. You know, I want to tell you something. I'm not going to fly. I'm not going to fly until this is resolved. Even if I have to take a Greyhound to go cross country, or even if I have to take a slow boat to China, this is what's going to happen. Gas price is very, very high right now, but this is another thing that you people allow. Notice how the United States and the UK are going to tap into the oil reserves. Well, this should probably have happened during the Bush administration, but that's a zero-sum game, because if it happened then, we would be in a worse situation now, and vice versa. So this has been today's Big Pauly video blog on March 20th, 2012. I will catch you all again, hopefully sometime later in the week, if not early next week. Bye-bye for now. Have a good one.